Afternoon, friends. Welcome back. It's been a crazy few weeks and I've been away from the shop for way too long, but I'm back now. And as you can see, I've got another project on the bench. Now I know I need one more iron in the fire. I've got too many things going on. You guys are absolutely right. I'm trying to do too many things at once. Unfortunately, I'm waiting on parts for the 48WL. I'm waiting on more parts for the three-wheeler. I don't know if you guys have messed with these old Hondas. Some of this stuff is really hard to find, and unfortunately, some of the parts I'm not able to find. I can find some aftermarket stuff, and of course you read reviews, and then the reviews don't sound very good, so I'm a little skeptical about things that I order, so I do a lot of research and try to find things. So I've got this project now going. It's a little chopper build. This is not something that's going to come together quickly. It's something that, I came across on Marketplace. The deal was right. I picked it up. I've got engines for days. I've got parts all over the place. I might as well utilize some of these things. So I figured since I've got some downtime as I'm waiting on parts and business is kind of slow, I'll make a video of putting this thing together. So this is my first official chopper build. I've never built an actual chopper before. No hardtail, aftermarket stuff. Typically what I deal with is older Harley Davidsons, putting them together, taking them apart, all that good jazz. This is going to be something new for me. So my plan for this bike is a Shovelhead power plant. I do have a 5-speed transmission with a kicker and a pretty basic stripped down bare bones, rider. It may change from there, I'm not exactly sure, but today we're going to start putting this thing together. So follow along. I'm going to start by putting the rear wheel on first, and then we'll get the front end on, and then throw the transmission in, and maybe put the engine in and get a look at this thing. Stay tuned. Now a lot of these parts aren't perfect and they're not going to be exactly how they need to be. I know I've got to get some spacers and I'll grab those real quick and I'll get things kind of temporarily set up. But I know all this thing's going to be kind of loose together, so don't look at how I'm putting this together as this is the final product. This is not how it's going to be. I just want to get this thing in like rolling form so I can move it around the shop and probably end up putting it in my barn at some point in time so I can move it around in there. Let me get some spacers for this. We'll get this wheel kind of temporarily spaced and we'll get this mounted. Now I don't have any axle adjusters at this time, and it's something I'm going to have to get. And obviously, as you can see, this rear axle is not the right one for this setup. It's way too long, and it doesn't actually fit the frame like it should. So I'll probably end up finding a Kraft Tech axle. I believe they make them. A set of adjusters, so I can get this thing squared up and in the frame properly. But for now, this will help me to roll around the shop. Next, we're going to work on the front end of this bike. Now, I've rebuilt an entire 35mm front end that I had for another project that I ended up selling off in pieces. It's a newer front end to me. All the internals are good, the tubes are good, everything's new except for the triple trees. And the triple trees are not in the best shape. I don't really love them. I like the look of them. I'm not really sold on them. They've got some rust and they're kind of gross looking. But for now, they're gonna work like I need them. So I'm gonna grab that front end and we'll go ahead and get this front end mocked up. All right, after a little bit of technical difficulty, the front end I was going to use had the wrong set of triple trees on it, had to tear it all apart, and I have a stock set of 35mm triple trees. Now someone has written bent on the back of this, and I'm not sure what that's in reference to because this doesn't look like it's bent. So I'm not exactly sure. But anyway, we're gonna put this in place. Now I know the bearings aren't great on these, and I know all this is gonna get replaced. The bearings, net cups, all that good stuff. But for ease of use right now, we're gonna just put this stuff in place and check my fitment here. My lock tab is going to work just fine. Everything looks like it's going to line up well, so we're going to use this set of trees. Alright, we'll go ahead and get this in place here. I'll put my top bearing set on. Again, these are used old bearings. They're not in good shape, but they're going to get me by for now. We'll put the top tree in place. to go ahead and clean those threads eventually. Those are a little dirty. They're not exactly lining up the way I'd like them to. So for now, we'll go ahead and get the legs installed, and then we'll get a good look at this thing. Get a little bit of grease in the trees here, just to make everything slide nicely. These longer legs are going to be a little bit of an issue, trying to figure out a good method to get them in. Need to install the right spacers in these. So unfortunately for now, they're just threading in by hand. I know I'll go through and I'll get all this stuff done properly. When I built these, I built them for another bike, and it was just a mock-up kind of thing, but someone wanted the frame, so I sold the frame for the bike. They didn't want the front end, but this is all brand new. I just need the proper spacer, so I'll have to go ahead and get one of those made. We'll get this right leg installed, and then we'll put the wheel on. Again, we'll grease this up a little bit just to ensure things slide nicely in here. All right, we've got the frame up on a couple of these jacks here. Got everything kind of level. Got it strapped to the table, because safety somewhere. I'm not exactly sure if it's first, second, third, last. But I don't really want this thing to fall off the table. I'm sure there's a better way to do this. I mean, if you had extra hands and lots of help, I'm sure there's a better way. But for today, this is how we're doing it. So I'm going to go ahead and put this axle in place here and try to get this thing on its own two wheels. Now with the front wheel in place, I'm going to go ahead and get these jacks out from underneath it. I'm going to lower the bike down and look at its actual stance. Alright, as you guys can see, got the bike on its two wheels, and you can kind of get an idea of its stance. It is definitely up a lot in the front. I kind of like the look, but I don't have any sheet metal on it. So I'm not exactly sure how I'm going to like it in the end. I'm almost certain this is a 6-over front end. I built this, like I said, for another bike that was actually raked out. This bike does not have a rake to it. It's a 30-degree stock rake, so this is your typical Harley Davidson rake. So it does bring the front end up quite a bit. In all honesty, I think it's got that 70s look, that old school chopper look. It kind of has that feel, and I really kind of like it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to readjust the front shock here, get the wheel in a little better so it's a little more stable on the lift. We'll start hanging some parts on this thing. Alright, I've gone ahead and re-braced the front wheel, and I've put a jack underneath it just to kind of get everything a little more solid on the lift. It always makes me a little nervous working up this high. I know anything could happen. The lift could tip over, the bike could fall off, and I really don't want to have that. Working in a small space, it's kind of hard to get out of the way if something does happen to fall. Next, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to throw the transmission in place just to get a look at that. So we'll grab that and we'll move that into its position. Alright, as you can see, someone has taken a 5-speed transmission, and they've cut the starter ear off of it, and they've added a kicker to it. Kind of a nice combination. I've never personally used this transmission. It actually came with this project, but it does shift through the gears real well. I need to open it up and inspect it. The kicker cover, obviously somebody's ground on it a little bit. I'd like to clean that up. I probably will go ahead and undo this clutch cable and let that dangle, but for now we'll leave it. Next up, I'm going to throw the rear fender on and get a look at that. Then I'll put the gas tank on or the engine in. I'm not exactly sure what I want to do next yet. Actually, let's put the engine in next. Let's grab the motor, we'll put the block in, we'll get a good look at it just to kind of see. It's not a full engine, but we'll get it in here, we'll get a look at it and see how that looks, and then from there, I will put the rear fender and tank on just to kind of get an overall feel of what this bike is going to look like. Okay, now that we have the engine in place, we can kind of get a good visual of what the bike is going to eventually look like. In my opinion, I like it. You know, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep everything this natural matte finish or blonde, I guess is what most people call it. I may. I kind of like the look of it. You know, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with this as far as a direction, but I do like this color, and I may go this route. Now I know this whole engine needs a complete rebuild. The bottom end is good. The flywheels have been gone through, all of the bearings are all done, races are all done. The whole bottom end as far as, you know, flywheel assembly is all set and ready to go. The cylinders are good inside. This is an 80-inch engine, and I have 74-inch cylinders on it right now. So I may go with some short deck pistons in this 80-inch, or I may find a good set of 80-inch pistons. I'm not sure. I've read some forums, and people have said that you can run these 74-inch cylinders as long as they're the right bore and with a shorter head height piston. So I'm looking into that, potentially going that route. Anyway, from here, let's go ahead and put that back fender on next. I need to get myself a piece of chain or something to get this up properly so it actually lays on the wheel just like it should. What I have here is I believe a Model A or one of the older cars' spare tire cover. Now I know a lot of guys were using these for choppers back in the day, and I know they were cool for a while, and then they kind of died off and people really didn't like them. This is the first one I've seen in this shape with the strip on it. This actually has its garnish on it, and it looks like it's in really nice shape. And I really like the look of it. So I'm actually going to use this on this build. When I first picked up this project, I wasn't going to use this. This is one of the pieces that came with it. I bought the frame, the fender, tank, transmission, and some little odds and ends. A complete, you know, primary drive, belt drive. So, you know, I like those parts. I wasn't sold on this, but as I'm looking at it, I kind of really like it. At this point, let's throw the tank on this thing and get a good look at it all. The tank has a front bung welded on the frame for the tank, I should say. The rear is not in place. It does have this back bung here. I'm not sure if that's supposed to be for a fuel tank or it's for a seat or whatnot. It does have some, you know, mounts here as well. I'm not exactly sure. I will probably end up seeing where everything kind of fits when I get a seat and whatnot. But for right now, I'm going to leave this like this and eventually probably put a bung in here to weld this tank in place because I believe I'm going to run this tank. But I want to stand back, I want to get a good look at this thing, and I want to see, you know, how it feels. I want this thing to kind of talk to me a little bit and tell me the direction it wants to go. You know, this is a visual that I've had in my mind, but sometimes, you know, you think of something and you put it together and you go, man, I'd change this, that, or the other about it. Well, that's where I'm at right now. You know, the vision in my mind was this mocked together like this, so now I want to stand back and take a good look at it. So let's look at this thing. Don't hate it. Well, friends, what are your thoughts on this project? What do you like about it? What do you dislike about it? What would you change? What would you add? What would you alter? What direction would you go? The overall finished product here is going to be a Shovelhead engine, this 5-speed transmission, obviously this frame. I do like this front end. I think I'm going to keep that. I think I like the length of it. I think I like the look. The triple trees that I have here, I don't love. I do have a nice shaved, polished set in storage. I need to get those out, and I'll probably eventually end up switching those out. I do kind of like the look of the tank and the fender together. I feel like this bike looks good with those on there. I do not have a seat currently, and I'm not sure the direction I want to go for a seat just yet. You know, my initial thought was some sort of a king and queen style seat, but with this fender, I don't think I want to cover a lot of it up. I do have a sissy bar that I may incorporate into this, but you know, I know I want one. I'm not sure if I'll put this one on it or a different one. I may end up getting one made for it. I know I need to order some bungs to mount the fender properly. I know I need to get a bung for the frame here to mount the tank properly. Obviously the entire engine needs to be rebuilt. The transmission needs to be gone through. I can see the main shaft is chewed up on the end here, so that main shaft is garbage. This is not the wheel and tire combination that's going to be on this bike. I am going to run spokes. That's a for sure thing. This is a single disc front end. I will run a single disc on this. I do have an aluminum hoop 19-inch wheel that I want to run on this. I got to get that all cleaned up and get that totally rebuilt. And then this rear will be, a 40-spoke rear, Shovelhead dual flange rear hub. I'll get that rebuilt as well. So this is, in good shape. I'll get a nicer hoop that's cleaner. Same with the aluminum front. Polish all those up, make them look good. As far as frame color, I'm not sure just yet. I do like this blonde, and I may try to find a color that's similar and paint the frame the same and leave just the accent things black as far as the fender, the tank, maybe even the bars. I'm not sure yet. I'm not 100% sure. I do need an oil tank, so I need to find a horseshoe style oil tank. This will be kick only, will not be kicking electric, obviously. Yeah, I mean, I know I'm a long way off on this thing. It's got a long way to go. I'm not ready to order parts for it yet. As projects are coming and going, I'm waiting on other parts and other projects to get going on, and I need those parts to come in first so I can start working on those. But I wanted this to be a roller. I do need to find a kickstand for it so I can actually put it on a kickstand and everything will stay. I do need to put some motor mounts in the engine here so that the engine will stay in place while it's being rolled around the shop. I don't want anything falling out. Obviously the fender won't be mounted until I get the proper bungs for it. But this is where we're at, friends. Like I said, drop some comments. Let me know what your thoughts are. What you guys think about this thing. If this is a good direction, if it's not a good direction, some ideas. This is a cool build for me and I'm excited for it. Well, friends, I appreciate you guys following along and sticking around to the end of the video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. I know I haven't seen you all in a while and I'm going to try to make more content, and if I can, I will. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit that subscribe button. I know that my analytics show that less than 10% of you guys are subscribed, so if you haven't yet, hit that button. I need all the subscriptions I can get. I'm trying to grow this channel. Obviously, if you have friends that like this type of content as well, feel free to share it with them. If you want to share this on Facebook or Instagram or whatnot, please feel free to do that. If you're not following me on Facebook, Instagram, or eBay, look me up, Rocky's Chop Shop, on any one of those. I do post pictures on Instagram. I am sort of active on Facebook. Most of my eBay stuff transfers over there to show what my listings are. And if you're looking for vintage parts or obscure parts or whatnot, check out my eBay page. I do sell a lot on there. That's my sole business. That's what I do. So if you're looking to support me in any way, shape, or form and you need parts, that's a great way to do it. As always, friends, I appreciate you all. Stay tuned until next time.